In the heart of a neon-lit underworld, Ah Jong is a ghost, a legendary assassin who never misses. But during a chaotic shootout, a stray bullet shatters more than just a window. It blinds a beautiful, innocent singer. Consumed by a guilt that no amount of money can wash away, Ah Jong vows to fund her surgery by taking on one final, impossible hit. The stakes? Higher than he ever imagined. Now, he's trapped in a lethal crossfire between a ruthless triad boss who wants him silenced and a relentless police detective who begins to realize they are two sides of the same honorable coin. As the city dissolves into a battlefield of high-octane gunplay and heartbreaking betrayal, the line between cop and criminal vanishes. Like and subscribe if you love classic Hong Kong crime films. This story isn't about who wins, it's about what it costs. The film opens inside a quiet, empty church. Ah Jong, a feared assassin known for his precision and smartness, sits alone in the pews. He stares in silence, then settles his eyes on the statue of Mary. He remains still, as if weighing his choices and seeking some form of inner reckoning. Not long after, his best friend Feng Se enters the church carrying a briefcase. Feng Se is a former assassin himself. He now serves as Ah Jong's contractor. This church is their usual meeting place. Feng Se arrives with a new assignment, one that requires flawless execution. He has complete faith in Ah Jong to deliver. Ah Jong is no ordinary assassin. Though he carries out every mission with ruthless precision, he operates with a strong sense of conscience. He lives by a strict code, one that often makes him seem more principled than the law itself. He is careful to not harm women or children. Mastery and restraint define his work. Over the years, he has become the most reliable killer for hire. Ah Jong tells Feng Se that this will be his last job. What Ah Jong does not realize is that this seemingly final assignment will change his life forever. In the following scene, we see Inspector Li Ying working with his partner on an undercover sting. Posing as buyers, they meet a gang involved in arms deals. The hoax quickly takes an unexpected turn when a random police officer intervenes. The gang opens fire, sparking a shootout. The gang leader escapes and Li Ying gives chase. The pursuit leads him onto a moving train. When the gangster seizes a random passenger as a leverage, Li does not hesitate. He shoots the criminal to prevent further harm. Tragically, the passenger, already suffering from a heart condition, has a fatal heart attack from the shock. Li's superiors condemn his actions. He is demoted, blamed for the death of the hostage, and reprimanded for using force on the tram. Despite the consequences, Li remains fiercely committed to his work. He is relentless in his pursuit of criminals. But his dedication puts him at odds with the bureaucracy around him. His superiors make his job nearly impossible, frustrated by an officer who refuses to compromise his principles. Ah Jong arrives at a busy nightclub where his target is hanging out with his gang. Upon shooting his target, his men retaliate. Gunfire erupts and chaos fills the room. In the middle of the shootout, Ah Jong fires a shot that strikes dangerously close to the eyes of the nightclub singer, Jenny. The impact damages her eye, leaving her partially blind. Ah Jong, full of remorse, rushes to her rescue and is shot twice. Wounded and bleeding himself, he cannot take her to a hospital. Instead, he wraps a scarf around her eyes to stop the bleeding before escaping the scene. That moment follows him. The guilt settles in and never lets go. Later that night, as Feng Se treats Ah Jong's bullet wounds, his mind stays fixed on the woman he left behind. Jenny, now able to see only shadows, visits the doctor. She is told her cornea is badly damaged and needs an urgent transplant. Without it, she will lose her sight completely, and any chance to restore it will be gone. The surgery is far beyond her means. Despite her sudden misfortune, Jenny continues performing at the nightclub, graceful and composed as ever. Ah Jong begins visiting the club frequently, quietly listening to her angelic voice from a distance. He never finds the courage to confess what he did. The weight of his mistake grows heavier with every visit. One night, as Jenny makes her way home, two men try to rob and assault her. Before they can do anything, Ah Jong intervenes. He overpowers them without hesitation and makes sure they never prey on a helpless woman. He then walks her home. From that point on, he begins to look after her, out of remorse. He never reveals who he truly is. He knows the truth would drive her away. To her, he presents himself as nothing more than a stranger who chose to stay. What follows is quiet and unspoken. Through shared moments and gentle care, a bond forms. Over time, that bond deepens. What begins as protection slowly turns into something neither of them planned. And without knowing it, Jenny falls in love with him. Forced to break his promise to leave the assassin world, Ah Jong takes on one last job to fund Jenny's eye surgery. His target is Wang Dong-yu, a powerful triad boss. He accepts the mission, requesting an unusually high payment. One enough to cover Jenny's cornea transplant. Every penny is for her, giving her a chance to see again. Ah Jong arrives at the Dragon Boat Festival, where Wang Dong-yu is scheduled to attend. As soon as he arrives, Ah Jong takes his shot, killing the Wang instantly. Inspector Li Ying and his partner Tsang Ye spot him and give chase. Ah Jong manages to slip away, reaching the shore. There, a little girl smiles and waves at him. As he moves toward her, something feels off. Checking through his glasses, he realizes he's walking into an ambush. Bullets begin to fly. He dodges, counterattacks, and the chaos escalates. Li and Ye arrive, joining the fight. In the crossfire, the little girl is hit. Ah Jong reacts instantly, rescuing her and rushing her to the hospital. Li and Ye attempt to arrest him, but Ah Jong gains the upper hand, holding Ye at gunpoint. When he sees the girl responding to treatment, he disorients them and escapes. Ah Jong confronts Feng Se, demanding to know who wants him dead, but he stays silent, refusing to reveal anything, leaving Ah Jong frustrated. The next day, Feng Se shows up at Ah Jong's house carrying a suitcase. Suspicious, Ah Jong immediately raises his gun. He, however, places the gun on the table and opens the briefcase. Ah Jong sees nothing but bundles of white paper. At that moment, Feng Se grabs the gun and points it at Ah Jong. Instead of panic, Ah Jong bursts into hysterical laughter. Feng Se pulls the trigger and realizes it's empty. Ah Jong draws another gun and aims it at his friend, but he hesitates. After years of loyalty and shared history, he cannot bring himself to kill Feng Se. All he wants is the money he's owed. Grateful that Ah Jong spared him, Feng Se finally reveals the truth. Who it is that wants Ah Jong dead. The truth becomes clear. Hoi, his client, had orchestrated everything from the start. He ordered the murder of his own uncle to claim leadership. He was also the one who hired Ah Jong to eliminate a man at the nightclub, the same night Jenny was injured. Ah Jong had unknowingly wiped out key members of the Triad, clearing the path for Hoi's rise. Hoi moves quickly to seize control of the Triad. To secure his position and keep the secret, Wang Hoi hires another assassin, Chen, to eliminate Ah Jong. To protect his secret, Hoi decides Ah Jong must die. What hurts most is not the betrayal by the Triad, but by Feng Se. To be at Hoi's mercy, Feng Se turns against Ah Jong, the man who trusted him above all else. Shaken and disillusioned, Ah Jong begins to question everything he once stood for. His code, his rules, his belief in honor. In a world driven by power and betrayal, he wonders if integrity still has any place left at all. The betrayal forces Ah Jong to confront a harsh truth. The underworld he once believed in no longer follows any code. Promises mean nothing, and loyalty has been replaced by ambition. Meanwhile, seeing Feng Se have failed to kill Ah Jong, Hoi hires a seasoned professional to hunt Ah Jong down. The city turns into a battlefield, and Ah Jong becomes an target. At the same time, Li continues his hunt for Ah Jong. However, he noticed something unusual. When their eyes meet, he does not see a cold-blooded killer. He sees restraint, resolve, and an unexpected sense of compassion. The risk he took during their first encounter, choosing to save the little girl instead of fleeing, stays with him, haunting his conscience and shaping every choice he makes afterward. That alone sets Ah Jong apart from every criminal Li has dealt with before. Li is chasing Ah Jong with hopes to use the assassin to expose the new Triad leader responsible for a wave of killings across the city. But catching Ah Jong is no easy task. He moves carefully and stays one step ahead. As Li spends more time observing Ah Jong, the full picture comes into focus. He learns why the assassin has turned against the entire triad. It is not about power or pride. It is about money and what that money represents. A chance for a woman to see again. To stay ahead of the drama, Lee starts visiting the nightclub and even gets close to Jenny. He also keeps Jenny's apartment under quiet surveillance. One day, Lee tells Jenny the truth about Ah Jong's identity, and the revelation shatters her. He convinces her that they want to help him, and they manipulate her into a scheme to trap Ah Jong at the airport. Inspector Lee organizes his team, taking positions throughout the terminal, ready for action. As everyone waits, Jenny suddenly realizes what's going on and screams a warning, urging Ah Jong to run. It's a trap. But Ah Jong, clever as ever, has already anticipated it. With Fung Se creating a diversion, he moves quickly, rescuing Jenny and escaping before the ambush can close in. One day, while tailing Ah Jong alone in a car park, Chen and his gang ambush them and shoot Ye in the neck. Seeing this, Ah Jong speeds off, with Chen in pursuit. On the brink of collapse, Ye forces himself to follow them. He manages to ram Chen's vehicle into a ditch and continues after Ah Jong until his strength finally gives out. Before passing out, he memorizes the location. The police soon arrive and rush Ye to the hospital. Lee gets there shortly after, and with his final breath, Ye reveals where Ah Jong is hiding. He dies moments later, leaving Lee devastated. Consumed by rage, Lee heads straight to the location, determined to arrest Ah Jong and bring him in, no matter the cost. But Ah Jong catches him off guard. He refuses to surrender and stands his ground, calmly pointing a gun at Lee, who also has his aimed at him. Not long after, Hoi's men, who had followed Lee, suddenly arrive at the scene. Ah Jong shoots one of them, saving Lee. However, Lee, believing Ah Jong is about to shoot him, reacts on instinct and fires first, hitting Ah Jong on the shoulder. At that moment, the line between the detective and criminal begins to blur. Duty gives way to understanding, and before long, both men become friends and are driven toward the same goal to bring down Hoi and his men. From the start, Lee understands the limits of the law. With corruption deeply rooted in the police force, arresting Hoi is nearly impossible. Evidence disappears. Witnesses vanish. Worse still, Hoi's men are responsible for the death of his partner. Faced with a broken system, he chooses to align himself with the very criminal he is meant to arrest. Together, they fight Hoi's men. The apartment soon turns into a war zone as Chen fires explosives at them. Still, Lee and Ah Jong manage to escape with Jenny. Ah Jong meets with Fung Se, who apologizes and explains that Hoi orchestrated the betrayal and refused to pay for the contract. Fung Se begs for one final chance to fix what he broke. He asks Ah Jong to let him confront Hoi one last time and recover the money he owes. Knowing how brutal and stubborn Hoi can be, Ah Jong tries to let it go and urges him not to risk his life. But Fung Se is determined. He had fumbled the only true friend he ever had, and he needs to make it right, even if it costs him his life. Besides, he knows how badly Ah Jong needs the money for Jenny's surgery. He asks Ah Jong to wait for him at the church, promising to return with the money. Fung Se gathers his courage and confronts Hoi in front of his men, demanding the money he owes Ah Jong. Hoi refuses. The confrontation quickly turns violent as Hoi and his men beat Fung Se mercilessly. Despite the brutal beating, Fung Se finds an opening. He seizes the money and escapes, using Hoi as a hostage to force his way out. Meanwhile, back at the church, Ah Jong and Lee's bond grows stronger. In an unexpected moment of clarity, Lee finally understands what Ah Jong is fighting for. He sees that Ah Jong is a man driven by passion and conscience, determined to restore Jenny's sight. Lee realizes how similar they are, the only difference being that they stand on opposite sides of the law. During their conversation, Ah Jong asks Lee that if anything happens to him, his corneas should go to Jenny, and Lee should use the money to take her abroad for treatment. Though Lee hates hearing this, he agrees. Fung Se arrives at the church, badly beaten and barely standing. He hands the suitcase to Ah Jong, proud that he fought for what was right like a man. In that moment, he finds his redemption, but it does not last. Hoi and his men storm the church and open fire. Hoi shoots Fung Se, and though devastated, Ah Jong is forced to end his suffering. The church instantly turns into another battlefield. Gunfire erupts, tearing the place apart. Ah Jong and Lee fight side by side, and though surrounded and outnumbered, they cut down most of Hoi's men, knowing the final confrontation is unavoidable. The final showdown pushes everything to the edge. Defeated, Hoi takes Jenny hostage. He uses her as leverage against Ah Jong and Lee, the two men who destroyed his entire operation. Ah Jong cannot risk her safety. To protect her, both men lower their weapons. At the same time, Ah Jong hopes to reach for the gun hidden behind Lee's trousers when Hoi least expects it. But before he can act, Hoi fires. The bullet hits Ah Jong in both eyes, blinding him. Lee rushes to Ah Jong, overwhelmed with confusion and grief. There is no time to tend to his wounds. Instead, Lee turns and chases after Hoi, firing relentlessly, determined to kill him. He knows this criminal will never face true justice under the law. Hoi's power and corruption make him untouchable, and his crimes are far worse than any devil's. Just then, the police arrive. Seeing them, Hoi runs toward the officers, begging to be arrested. Even with the police on the scene, Lee does not lower his weapon. In front of the entire force, he shoots Hoi, damning the consequences. Meanwhile, Ah Jong, blinded and dying, desperately searches for Jenny as she searches for him. He longs to hold her one last time, to feel that brief connection before his life fades. But fate has already taken its toll. He gives up without ever reaching her. In the end, Ah Jong dies as he lived. Though his hands were stained with blood, he was guided by conscience. Even in darkness, a man can choose to be more than what he was made to be. If this story moved you, you already know why Chow Yun-fat is a legend. His films aren't just action. They're about honor, sacrifice, and choosing who you are when the world is broken. If you like Chow Yun-fat movies, click here for more iconic Hong Kong crime classics where bullets fly, loyalties break, and endings hit hard. Like the video if you felt the tragedy. Subscribe if you want more legendary Asian movie recaps. And comment below, is Ah Jong a villain or a hero trapped in the wrong world?